Jazzcast Pros.
What if the only thing standing between you and the life you know you're meant for is the story that you keep telling yourself? In today's episode, we sit down with Dr. Joi Brown to unpack what it really takes to unlock your inner greatness, from overcoming mindset blocks and imposter syndrome to healing from within. This conversation is a wake-up call for high-achieving women who are ready to stop playing small. If you have ever questioned your worth, struggled to silence that inner critic, or felt that there's more in you waiting to be unleashed, this episode will challenge you, empower you, and remind you that you are the author of your life and you can rewrite your story anytime. Welcome to Healing Her Within, where inner healing meets unstoppable power. This podcast is for women ready to stop shrinking, heal their inner child, and rise into their true selves. I'm your host, Maryann Rivera, and here we have real conversations about healing, growth, and reclaiming your voice. You were never broken, you were becoming. So take a breath, settle in, and let's begin from the inside out. Today we have an amazing guest. So first, tell us your name and a little bit about yourself.
Well, good evening. I am Dr. Joi Brown, a career and leadership coach, author, entrepreneur, and empowerment speaker.
I love all of that because I was, looking at your website. You often talk about the belief that greatness resides within each individual. So how did that belief shape your own journey?
Oh, that's an excellent question. So for me, it started in my family. See, I grew up in a family that instilled in me the I can mantra. And so what that was, when I was young, I was told that I was a joy to this world, that I am somebody, that I could achieve anything that I set my mind to. So it's been that belief that has grounded me in my passion and purpose and helped me be everything I am today.
I love it. So here on the Healing Her Within podcast, What does healing from within look like for high achieving women who feel stuck despite their success? Because oftentimes we think that, feeling stuck is just because you're being unproductive or you're not achieving your goals. But the thing is, it affects many women who are confident and successful. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a couple of things. One, I think it starts with, again, knowing your worth and your value and what you want for your life. I'm big on vision. And so I always say, write the vision and make it plain, but it's more than a vision. It's where do you want to go in life? So to me, it's about action. It's about execution. And so sometimes even in things that you are constantly doing, that's great, but there's something more in you. There's something more that you can give. I've been in that situation and I feel that there's more that I could be doing. I want to add more value. How do I get there? And so oftentimes you need action. And so I think how to get you unstuck and what does that healing look like you from it is knowing that there's greatness within you. There's something more that I could be doing. I have gifts and talents that I want to share. So oftentimes it's figuring out how can I make a move? How can I create opportunities for me? Even when people try to box you in or even try not to see you. You've got to believe in yourself. So that I can mantra, as I talked about, is the foundation that everything propels me, that I know that I have gifts and talents. And even though when others try to block me or try to box me in, I know that there's greatness within me. And sometimes I have to create my own path. And that's what I've done. But it's also connecting with people who also know what you're about and to see the potential in you. I am because somebody poured into me. And so my life's journey is to educate, equip, and empower through, I call them my superpowers. Yeah. And I've been able to tap into that and align them to my career.
For the woman that may be listening and she's like, okay, that sounds all great, but how do I start to reprogram my thoughts? Because the moment I start to think positive or say affirmations or even meditate on, Bible verses, let's say that inner dialogue, that inner critic starts to, tap in and you're wasting your time. You're not good enough. Remember what you did, 10 years ago, if they only knew. So how does a woman start to shift that inner dialogue from within?
Oh, great question. I think the first thing is you have to hit the mute button. And anytime I speak, I always say you have to mute the noise. And sometimes the noise is even yourself telling you, why are you going to try that? Now, you know what others tell you. I call them dream killers. And sometimes we are our own dream killers. And so with that, you have to believe in yourself and mute your own self, mute the negativity. Stop comparing yourself to others, because there's enough space. There's enough coaches. There's enough authors. And so you being one more, there is something that the world needs in you that only you can give. So you've got to have that confidence to know that I'm going to step out there and I'm going to do it. Do it scared anyway.
Right.
That's the next thing. You've been called, but I need you to step out. I need you to stretch. And so again, aligning yourself with people who could be your accountability. That's where your community comes in. I see the potential in you, and I want to help my sister get to where she needs to go and be a support system. So that whole muting and being, even if you're afraid, you got to do it anyway. You got to take a risk. As an entrepreneur, you got to work the business so the business will not get worked. And so you have to do those things, even when you're uncomfortable, and watch what will happen.
And you mentioned something just a second ago. You said that, there's enough coaches and authors and things like that. The analogy, I can't remember who I heard it from, but that I am always reminded of is that, McDonald's, I don't know which one came first, but there was McDonald's. Well, Wendy's didn't let McDonald's stop them from starting out. And then you got Dunkin' Donuts and you got Tim Hortons and you got Starbucks and things like that. Like you said, there's more than enough.
Yes.
But there's something about your specific voice that somebody's going to latch onto.
Yes.
Because you have individuals who, are loud and boastful and, right there in your face. But then you have people who are more quiet. And you're going to, attract that person and things like that. And another thing that I'm always reminded of is just like for parents. And I'm pretty sure that every parent can, relate to this. You tell your child something and your child does not listen, but let the neighbor come over or a teacher and they will tell that child the exact same thing. All of a sudden, they're the smartest person in the whole world.
I know it's still like that today. And sometimes, but again, it's the point of repetition. And sometimes people need to hear it multiple times. And so I think there is still space and value for everybody. And I think there is power in collaboration. There's power in engagement. We know a team achieves more because they're working together. And so that's the thing that you have to look at.
Yeah. So, you have a very strong HR background and you have helped many women transition in their careers. How do you know when you're being called to pivot versus just pushing through it?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I think when it's time to pivot, when you have done all the things and you could do it without even thinking about it. Like, this is not even a stretch goal for me. I can do this in my sleep. I have planned this program. I have executed this. I have led this team. It is not to say that you don't enjoy that, but you can do it without even thinking about it. And so it's not a challenge for you. That's when when it's like, there's something else I could be doing. So maybe it's like, I need to be a part of a different work group that gives me greater impact. I'm used to doing stuff in my organization. Is there an opportunity for me to do something on a department wide? Is there something for me to do on a cross-functional team where I can get different perspectives and learn and implement? So I think it's all about knowing when you can do stuff without even thinking about it, and it becomes second nature. It becomes, I can do this in my sleep. I got this down packed. But that there's something more, I want to give and I want to add value. And can I do this? And can I do that? And so that's when I think that it's like, it may be time to pivot. And again, pivot could be you like raising your hand, volunteering for a different assignment, working on a work group. Doesn't say you have to leave your organization, but you have to figure out your why and what is your value. And value doesn't have to be tied to any title, because I was adding value when I was an intern. I wouldn't be where I am today if they didn't see something when I was in college as an intern, folding notices with a smile and just, yeah, so what else do you have me to do? But they saw something in me, and that's how I am today. So I think that's important.
What would you say are some emotional mindset blocks that you may have noticed in women that they carry into their careers that actually stems from unhealed trauma?
Oh, I think one is maybe your worth. You don't feel like you're worthy or your value. And so, like, again, it all depends on what if you're in a male dominated, organization or an industry, then you're already coming into it like, okay, so I've got to be the best. And then it's that I've got to be perfect. There is no perfect. There's no leader that is perfect. What we need is true leadership that's genuine and authentic leadership when you're really leading people, especially now. Yeah. But I also think it's knowing, that you've got to know that you are worthy. You got here because of your expertise, your talents, and your gifts. And so you've got to know that. And the way you are being able to connect with others is going to speak volumes. Like you said, those triggers, those traumas from the past. Why are you doing that? You're never going to make it. It's those naysayers. Yeah. And sometimes that could be ourselves. Sometimes it could be our family, our loved ones, the people that we're in relationship with. You've got to quiet those noise. And you've got to say, when others try to tell me no, I'll be like, watch me. That gives me motivation. Yeah, you try to tell me I could not do it. Watch how I work this. Because that's just more motivation for me, especially if I know that I can do this and I really want to do this. And so that is the key. And I know we've talked about, this whole imposter syndrome, which I think is now that we've talked about, that. But it's nothing to be imposter. You add value to rooms. And in some rooms that women, we just need to be in the mix. We just add a different voice to the conversation that sometimes it's just needed. Yeah. It's so just true. So needed. And so we want to bring that diversity of thought. We want to bring that collective group together. We want to hear ideas to move the organization forward. And that's just so needed in spaces.
What steps can a woman take to align her career path with her true purpose without feeling that she has to start over?
Oh, that's great. So I think the first thing is starting out with, I call them your superpowers. What are you good at? Think about what did you want to be when you were a child? What are you good at? And then outlining those. And sometimes those are those transferable skills. And so think about on a resume, I look at people's transferable skills because no matter what industry is, it's those transferable skills. And what you're bringing to any organization is the value that you have. And so being able to translate that and say, remember, your resume is demonstrating what you've already done. So that to me is key. Knowing your worth, knowing your value, knowing your transferable skills. That is how you build your confidence. And that is your brand. Just like we talked about McDonald's and Starbucks and all these other places have a brand. Oh, I have a brand. So even before I walk in the door, when you look at my resume or when you look at my bio, you're like, I need to meet her because that represents me and who I am about. And then I'm talking about stuff that I've already demonstrated, not only from your professional, but all the other hats that you wear. Because I'm quite sure women wear many hats. And so that is experience too, that you need to add the value to you and stuff like that.
Yeah. So you are known as the positive energizer. How do you personally maintain your high energy and positive energy during difficult times?
Oh, that's a great question. So yes, with a name like Joi, I always say I got to bring the light. And I bring the hope. And I always say I can't pour from an empty cup because of all the roles that I have. And, being in HR, being a director, it's a lot going on in the land. And so I cannot be the best HR director if I don't take care of myself. So I am big on affirmations and mindset. And so to me, as we talked about your mindset, and so what I believe I can achieve. Right. And so behind me, you can see behind me is my words of affirmation. So not only do I have it here in my home office, but everywhere I go, there's a piece of me that reaffirms me, even in times of a struggle, even in times when I need some little hope and some joy, I go to my affirmations. I stay grounded in things that's going to pour into me. So I'm big on gratitude in the morning. I'm big on my meditation and prayer. So I'm big on those things that grounds me in order to do my daily work. And I believe in a playlist for everything. So I have my empowerment playlist. And again, when you have to speak or something, I was working with a client. I said, you got to get that power song. That is your theme song. And like artists have theme songs, right? Yeah. And it's for a reason. It's whatever it is that's for you, that's got to tell yourself in that ritual that you've got this, you can do this, you've got to do that. And so to me, whatever is that thing for you, that becomes a daily thing that you do. That becomes a part of your lifestyle. Yeah. And so that is important of how you feed into your mindset and making sure that you're staying positive in spite of everything else.
Now, what about, the woman that might be listening? She's like, okay, once again, this sounds all great and wonderful and things like that. And I can see it, but my husband needs me, my significant other needs me, the kids
Mhm.
needs me. I don't want to, they're going to start saying I'm changing. How does
Mhm.
she let go of of those thoughts and
Mhm.
step into her true power?
No, that's a great question. I also say you got to have some conversations. I
Mm,
think again, you have to have some conversations, especially because again, being a woman with all the roles that we are caregivers, we are givers. And I know
yeah.
even for me, I have put the oxygen mask on others before me.
Mm,
Because think of everything I'm doing, I'm a pour out. I'm a people person. And so I have constantly poured out. But in this season where I am, it is okay to put joy first. And that is
mm,
not selfish because I can't be the
right.
best mother, the best, director, the best leader, the best teacher, the best coach, the best mentor if I don't pour into me. But it's also setting the other word, those boundaries.
Right. My favorite topic.
Yeah, we've got to set some boundaries. Trust me, I was a
Yeah.
single mother. So trust me, you see me with all these accolades, but my story is that I was a single mother. Every delay was not a denial. Every goal and aspiration that I have achieved, I was able to do it. And that's my testimony. But how I
Mm,
made it over and continue to persevere is I believed in my abilities and I was able to connect with people and people poured into me and saw something in me before I didn't even know that was in me, but I was
mm,
able to connect with people. So when you talk about how can I do it, it's about connecting with people. It's about creating those genuine, cultivating relationships, and it's building your community. I would
yeah.
not be where I am today without my community. Because sometimes I don't even know how I had finished school on time. I was working full time. I raised my son. My son is now 28 with his master's degree. Went to school, had the son in the school, in the classroom. I'd be like, how? But I did it.
Mm,
And thinking back on it,
yeah.
but I didn't do this by myself. And so that to me is how, again, having that support system. Because even when I was a single mother, I had my support system, I had my community. And I think that's important, even though whatever journey you are, especially for women, to have that support system to help us pour back into each other, to be a support for each other.
I'm so glad that you mentioned being a single mother because
Mhm.
we were going to pivot a little bit and talk a little bit more about who you were
Mhm.
before, the titles, before the doctor,
Mhm.
before the HR career and all of
Mhm.
that. Who were you? How did that situation come about? And, talk a little bit more as to how you got yourself out of it and
Mhm.
how does one go about finding their community?
Right. Oh, that's a great question. So before all of this, again, I was a Joy and graduated number one in high school, valedictorian. So I've always had it in me, right? Because I told you
Mm,
grew up in this I can. So again, when I got pregnant, I was like, okay, well, what we gonna do? We're gonna pivot. I had full rides to schools. I finished one semester at the school. I transferred, took 1 week off, and came right back into school and got a 3.0 my first semester there.
mm,
But I didn't stop. And so I just knew that again, there was greater in me that my grandmother, my family taught me that I could achieve anything I wanted to do. And it was going to be hard, but life is hard. But I was able to persevere and continue to go. And things that I thought I wanted to do and things I said, well, maybe I can't do it now. I wanted to pledge in a sorority. I was able to do that. So my testimony is a delay is not denial. When I say
mm,
everything that I thought about when I was a young child, being a speaker, because I knew I had this voice and I didn't know which way that I was going to be called to speak, but facilitation and teaching and speaking and communication is my superpower. But I've always been that way. But again, where it all started was for me is knowing who I was and tapping into that. And again, making those connections. So again, I had my son started. I've been in the government 28 years. It follows my son. I have literally grown up in the government because my
mm,
first job, as again, I was an intern. But I remember what my mother told me, hey, this is your first job, do well. And I always was a go-getter and I was always, eager to learn. And so I was like a sponge. And so again, when I finished that assignment, I did it with a smile. And then they were like, do you want to come back on your break? I said, sure. I was at the University of Maryland, College Park. I came back, and they said, hey, do you want to work and go to school? Sure. Let's go to work and go to school. I had my community. My grandparents would watch my son. My sister would watch my son. We just worked it out until he was able to go to daycare. But I worked and went to school. I had great teachers. I communicated. I'm building my community. This is how I'm able to achieve, because I'm building my community. I was the student who always raised their hand. Even when I was in high school, my teachers know my name. That is what I continue to do even in college. And so once I graduated, I immediately started working in the federal government because I just converted, and I was a supervisor at the age of 30 because I excelled every year with promotions. So I was supervising people who did not look like me, who was much older, but I knew I loved HR, and I knew I had a way with relationships and my craft, and I wanted to be the best at it. So I learned my technical skills. I was able to do assignments. And remember, I was raising my hand. Remember?
Right.
That student, I was raising my hand. So to me, that is how I am, because somebody poured into me and saw something in me and said, Joy, are you interested in learning about careers and helping people with resumes? Sure. And I did not realize when I first was an intern that I would be still doing this 28 plus years later. All because somebody said, do you want to help? Yes, I did. And I said, yes. That's the other thing.
And it also sounds like you had a strong, community at home also with your grandparents and your sister and things like that. That is absolutely beautiful. So for the woman who is listening today and she feels lost, stuck, or disconnected from her purpose, what is the very first step that she can take towards becoming who she's meant to be?
I want you to believe in yourself. And believe that no matter your setbacks, your past, what others have told you, even what you have told yourself, you are valued and you have value, and the world needs you. You have purpose in your life. You have purpose no matter what is the story. And one of my best quotes is, you are the author of your own life. And I say that because you are the author. That means you can rewrite it, erase it, reset it, and reroute your destiny every single day. Every single day you have a choice, and you are valued, and you can do this. And make sure you connect with somebody who can help you along this journey.
Beautiful. So speaking of being, the author of your life, you're also an author. So what made you say yes to the writing projects that that you have been a part of?
And that's such a great question, because I started writing like before I became an author, before my 40th birthday. What I wanted to do, I was doing like daily quotes, right? Daily inspirations, and just posted. Then I said, well, I could probably put this in a book, right? Just thought about it. And later somebody approached me, was like, hey, I'm about to join this book. It's an anthology. And I was like, well, what's an anthology? What is that about? Oh, it's about a group of collective authors. We writing on a topic. And I said, oh, well, I would love to be a part of it. And my first book was called Silhouettes of Authors. And I talked about, again, from a transformation. And I did a lot on my weight loss and about how you transform your life. But not only in weight loss, it's a mindset, right? Everything starts with your mindset. You have to be committed that I want to change, and I'm going to do those things to improve my life, which is how I live my life. If I say I'm going to do so, what's my plan and how do I execute? So I talked about that, but that's what started my author journey. And everything that I write about or even speak about, it is something that I lived. It is. So I speak from a place that I have walked, and what I'm continuing to utilize today in my life.
And that's beautiful. I love that. So you are on the Healing Her Within podcast. What will little Joy say about where you are today and the things that you have accomplished?
She will say that she is so proud of you, that I am so proud of you. And despite everything that you have achieved in life, your ultimate goal is to bring joy. It's to bring joy to people's lives, to bring light, to bring hope, to bring an inspiration, to bring the positive energy. And so when this life is over, I just want to say something that she said. I knew I could call on her, and I talked with her, and she uplifted my spirit. She said a word. She encouraged me. I felt so much better. I saw where I was before I met her. And then after I worked with her, I was able to feel so much better. That is my light. The accolades are great, but my joy is to educate, equip, and empower people to their greatness. And the greatness is within them.
Right.
Sometimes the greatness is within them. They just need a little bit. I just want to sprinkle some joy. That's all I'm here for. Just to sprinkle some little joy, sprinkle some little light. I'm just
I
gonna
love
sprinkle
that.
and then watch it blossom and grow.
I love that. So, what are you working on and what are you doing for the rest of 2026?
So 2026, I'm definitely intentional about, continue to build this 3E brand that I am talking about, where we educate, equip, and empower through coaching, conversations, and workshops. And so again, feel free to connect with me. I got a couple of speaking engagements coming up. I always do career discovery calls and career services and just help people with career coaching. Because sometimes you just need a coach to help you navigate. I'm here today. I want to go there. And we could just do some strategy sessions because that's what it's about. But it's totally been a pleasure.
And where can people connect with you and learn more about you?
They can connect with me on Facebook and Instagram under the number 3, followed by 3E's Consulting. And as well as the website is www.3, followed by 3E's Consulting.com.
Love that. And I'll have that in the show notes. Any last parting words?
I just want to say again, you add value. Remember, you are needed. You're needed. And value isn't about any title. It is about wherever you are, you just want to make a difference. You just want to make it better, and your value matters, and the world needs you. And you can do this. You've got this.
Thank you for joining me on another episode of Healing Her Within. I hope today's message spoke to your soul and reminded you just how powerful you are. If you loved this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a sister who needs it, and leave a review so more women can find their way to healing. And remember, your healing is your responsibility, but you don't have to do it alone. Follow me on social media at Maryann Rivera Dannert, and be sure to visit MaryannRiveraDannert.com to access free resources in Rochester, New York. Until next time, keep healing, keep rising, and always honor the woman you're becoming. This is Healing Her Within, and girl, we are just getting started. And one last thing, this is a disclaimer. The information shared in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only, and it's not a substitute for professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. I am not a licensed therapist or counselor. If you're dealing with mental health or emotional challenges, please seek support from a qualified professional or a licensed counselor. Have a beautiful day.